fix myself real quick. I look like a complete mess, a conspiracy theorist at its best. It's good morning for me. Not too sure if it's good morning for any of you guys. You can tell by everything I got going on. In fact, I should probably put on a hat or something, but it's not too important at the moment. Adjust get my double chin there. My camera. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put this over here. Blow that up. Yeah, you know what? For the sake of everybody, hold on. In my sweatpants. There we go. Now I'm a little bit more. What would be the word? Suitable to look at? Anyway, question is the way of the world today. Where are we going to find ourselves in the future? The 5-year plan for where we're at. And I think that's interesting to bring up, mainly because what are we? What are we capable of doing? And will we be able to do it? One of the things I want to bring up about this question is how important is it to view where we're at this moment? And most people say very important. But the follow-up question is, what are we putting forth? And we can say we can do as much, as we can in our small daily lives. And when it comes to the bigger things, if we're in democracy, we vote. And because there's other people in the world, if we're in a communist state, you have to trust your SARS and those in power to make important decisions for you in your life. And is that credible? Is that something we can continue to live with? Has it been helping us since whenever it started? A lot of us say this is life. It's just what we have to deal with. And it's a very curious question, because when you bring up this question, you have to go into the politics of what you believe in, where life came from. Sorry, I'm stepping on this thing. I don't want to step on it. And it brings up, in my mind, it brings up two things. One, you're an atheist. Or two, you believe in creationism. And that's important to consider when you're trying to figure out about life. But other questions come into factor after that is, what's the point? If you believe in evolution, then you're just kind of living. You're just kind of going with the motion. But now you have, as a being that's capable of making decisions that affect life in a very big way. Because other things like the beaver will affect life and it will change water, but it tends to help benefit nature. Hummingbirds, go and they pollinate. Bees pollinate. Different insects actually pollinate different plants. In fact, insects are a big pollinator. Bees aren't the only pollinators. Bees originate from, what is it? Like Afghanistan, or the Middle East. Somewhere about that. Let me double check that before I move on. Where do bees originate from? Where do bees come from? Bees evolved from ancient prairie wasps that live 120 million years ago. Like bees, these wasps build up defense nests and together. Um, Myanmar. It was found in Kisnamber in the decade 10 million years old. Bee generated in the Far East. Wasp eating other insects. They're most likely wasps. Okay. I think Myanmar is more in Asia. Country in Asia. Yeah. So it's Thailand, above Thailand, and then you have India. So it's around there. I thought it was. That's why it's always good to double check your information. But and there's bad stuff going on over there. Um, there's different. There's. What was I saying before? Anyway, so humans have more of a um, detrimental footprint on the world, especially today, with our advanced brain. And if we evolved, then we would be asking the question, why then aren't we smart enough? And you can say, well, we will blame um, people that believe in religion, and they're the ones that created these problems. Because if there was no religion, we wouldn't be fighting. And some people will go, aha, but we do know that we are, if that is the case, we are animals, mammals, and we have natural instincts, and we're trying to overcome those natural instincts. And living in a society today where people were putting Tide Pods in their mouth, and there are still adults who think there's such thing as blinker fluid, and there are other people who are being fooled, into scams consistently. And then also you have a bunch of people thinking one way is correct and one way is not correct, and they're stupid over here, but no, they're stupid over there. There's not a coinciding. Even if you get rid of religion, you're still going to have these problems. Um, you're going to have these problems that people will not agree upon, and there's a problem. So if we look at it from the you were created, you're still created from this earth, but you have a higher function. Um, and one of those functions is to do better on the earth, to be a better person, to also um, cultivate the land and go from there. On both sides of the coin, we're not doing the job. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing as a um, higher being, as an intelligent creature. We are having less success than a beaver. We have become low. We may be high on the food chain, but we're high on the food chain like cancer is, in the sense of it's just eating away. We're not doing a benefit to anything. Um, and that's upsetting, because where we are now, dealing with all these different problems and not having the ability to change the world as we want to, because something else is coming out. We we can't we can't help but become full of anxiety. We can't help but become lost. So the where are we going to be in the future is an important question to be asking. I would enjoy if, of course, I don't have followers or listeners. That's fine. Um, I should stop drinking too much coffee, even though this is like my first cup. I poured a bunch of water in there. I still know. Um, and it's an interesting thing when it comes to religion, because a lot of religions aren't really fulfilling what they say they're meant to practice, what they're trying to practice, or they are, but it's not helping the world. The one that I grew up with, I can only really come from where I'm at, is a Christianity. And I see a lot of people proclaiming it. I don't necessarily proclaim it. Um, I do think that there's a lot of stuff that I've learned from it and want to continue to follow those things like the golden rule. A lot of people go, the Bible is just some made up nonsense, but it's the most plagiarized book there is. And that's an interesting thing. It's like, how is it a bunch of made up nonsense, but it keeps getting plagiarized over and over and over again, and people keep falling for it. It just sounds like they don't want to. The author, they're having a problem with who they believe the author is. Um, and in my mind, it's like, well, there was a being that is completely more intelligent than us, that is capable of creating life. We are getting close to the sense of artificial life. Even organisms, we're synthesizing certain things. Um, and if we continue on this path, yeah, maybe in 1,000 years, if we don't destroy ourselves, we're going to be capable of doing um, these type of things. But we're not there. But the thing is that I think that's it's not capable of something else to be able to do that is alien to me. Um, but there's a lot of things that I do find, you know, helpful when it comes to doing things. There's one that's like strip off the old personality, strip off, and when you think about that, when you strip something off, you have to take a piece by piece by piece, you strip it off piece by piece. Um, and then you clothe yourself with something new. And in that sense, it's like dealing with alcoholism, depression, and anxiety, and all the stuff like that. You really have to look at, what am I clothing myself with? What am I putting on, and how am I changing that? And that is like old words to where atheists and people believe that we're evolved haven't really we're finally coming to like the psychological aspects of what these are, because we're finally dealing with this type of thing, which can be argued that, well, if we didn't have all this, like all the religion and trying to give it to a god, then we'd be able to focus on certain life. But the fact is that's not what happened. And also, if I believe if we stayed in the bush, um we wouldn't be worried so much, But in the same case, it's like even with religion, it's like if we just stayed where we were supposed to be, we wouldn't be in this turmoil. I have yet to know of a religion that talks about not being somewhere and then being misled, and then put into a different realm, in a sense. Um, I haven't, I haven't found, maybe more research and stuff like that would be beneficial. But the one that dealing with Christianity, a lot of it makes sense when you look into it. Um, there's certain things that don't, but regardless of that, is where are we going to be in the future? Uh, as humans, we both know that you're this, either you were evolved or you were created. Regardless, your sole objective now is to make peace and make sure the world survives. It's not to make war. It's not to kill, but death comes, freedom comes at a price, they say. Self-sacrificing is one of the biggest prices, but self-sacrificing in the sense of going out and blowing yourself up, or going out and getting yourself potentially killed or harmed, doesn't necessarily it doesn't make sense. I can see how, well, you got to fight. Today there's no fighting. If a country wants to do something, they have millions of different weapons. They don't have to send men in. It's just a push of a button now. We are in a different age. There are multiple weapons that they can use to take out. So, going to war, oh, there will always be war. There's so many different, what they have, we don't even know. They're not going to tell us everything. They're not going to tell us, well, by the way, we have about 100 million drones that are capable of just wiping out a whole continent, which they probably do. They have atomic bombs. To think that you want to go in there, it's more of a showmanship. It's kind of like the badges. I've read a lot of old war books, and nothing seems to. It just seems like it was a bunch of, it was Vietnam. There's a bunch of mistakes being made. What's the point of these badges? What's the point of this? What did we actually change? And which is upsetting. I'm not saying like these people are imbeciles and then they made a wrong choice. That people make choices. But what I am saying is it's got to suck to have to think like that, and then try to build yourself up. And if you build yourself, well, I tried my best. I wanted to do the best and stuff like that. And then somebody comes in and says, no, you didn't. Like, you did. You tried your best to do something you believed was correct. Um, and that is something to look at, you know. And the badge that you should hold is something that's not on your chest, but inside. Um, but to think that one one country is better than the other right now is we haven't been able to be as good as the beaver, direct the water where it's needed at all since we've started governments and civilizations. There's been very few that have been well off, and a friend brought that empires only last like 100 something years, and or like 200 years, and like America is like you know 10 years away from being destroyed, basically. But I think Russia's still an empire, but they've also switched USSR to Russia. But it's like the same thing. It's basically John Cougar Mellencamp, and then wanted to avoid, then taxes and copyrights and songs. So it's John Mellencamp, Prince, artist formerly known as Prince, type of thing. But it's the same ideals. Um, but it hasn't been it hasn't been working. Like, we haven't been capable of doing stuff. So to say that your government is greater than the other one doesn't make any sense. Oh, well, you're in America. Believe in America is what America's about. Um, I can't I can't agree with you specifically because healthcare in different places are better. Like, oh, move over there. Like, okay, I would love to, but then even if I go over there, I'm still gonna have the same type of problems that I'm having over here. It's not where I live. There's something else going on, and I really believe it is commercialism. It is the way products are being moved. It's the information given to us, and the world is not being led um, by governments, but it's being led by rich people. The governments want to stay in power, um, but it's confusing. And I could see like Russia and China really having a big problem with that, where they're trying to monitor these type of things, but y- y- it doesn't. They're not really having a good time trying to monitor it, as the same as the people allowing it to go aren't really having a good time allowing it not being monitored. They're just uh, there's a side of the coin. There's three sides of a coin. There's the left, there's the right, and then there's the middle. It's always harder to land it on the middle, and that's what we need to do. Where we're going to be in a few years is, well, it's going to change. Things are going to be different. Um, if there's if more variants or more problems come around, then it's going to be bad. Apparently, I heard through the news that the Omicron variant, or actually heard from a friend through the news, the Omicron variant came with some benefits. So let's look this up, because this is going to depend on where we're going to be in a few years. Omicron benefits. See, the first one says WebMD, but I don't want to trust WebMD. But let's read WebMD. December 6, 2021. Although the new Omicron variant is spreading across the US and world quickly, early reports suggest that it may cause less severe disease than the Delta variant. Doctors in South Africa, where the variant is becoming dominant strain of the coronavirus, has said that the hospitalization rates haven't yet increased dramatically. Thus far, it does not look like there is a great degree for severity of it. Antonio Farashi, MD, Director of National Institution of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, told CNN State of the Union on Sunday. That said, scientists will need more time and information before drawing any definitive conclusions. But we have regularly gotten to be careful. But we really got to be careful before we make any determinations that it is less severe or it really doesn't cause any severe illnesses compared to Delta, Ficini cautioned. And then, yeah. So what my friend was saying is that it can actually be benefit if you get that, and then you get the like COVID or the Delta variant, it could actually help. It's like kind of a booster in itself. It gets you sick, but then here's this, um, which is pretty cool. The Delta, oh, down here, let's see. The Delta variant remains the dominant strand of the coronavirus in the U.S., making up 90% of the cases country and driving the increase in hospitalizations in northern states. She said, she said, ooh, uh, apparently, Rochelle Wikinski, MD director of the CDC. But I'm not seeing any of that information here. Yeah. So, a new variant, a new booster, and all those things are coming into play. And then people are fighting, you should take it, you shouldn't take it. You don't like people if you don't take it. You do like people if you do take it. Then all these things. And honestly, your opinion, your choice is your choice. I can't, I'm not going to side one or the other. People, they think that's very irresponsible. Yet, we're we're not doing anything about healthcare. You're not standing up and going, you know what, we need better healthcare. Also, we need to stop this crazy scam of insurance, just insurance on anything, like a car, phone, anything, health, literally anything that's insurance is just a scam. I haven't, you don't get good, proper scam, insurance. And it's like, well, you got to be careful and help people. Understanding that the numbers though are different because uh, I just recently, or not recently, but a few months back, I have a neighbor. Obviously, a lot of people do. Some people don't, but actually, everybody has a neighbor that just distances. Um, the whole family got sick. Two of them were vaccinated. Two of them weren't. The two that were got sick, and well, they had a hard time. They got over it. One of them was kind of bad. The other one, not too bad, but they said it helped. Um, the other person, who was my friend, got really sick, but also had pneumonia. So he had COVID plus pneumonia, and that was what put him in the hospital. Um, the fourth one, his sister, was fine. She's like, I felt tired, a little weak, a little upset, but I was good. So it's hard to tell what is needed and what's not needed. People say, just be cautious. What we put into our bodies is very important. Food specifically. In fact, what I've noticed throughout the years is that since processed food has gone up, children with disabilities has gone up as well. What we put into ourselves definitely changes our changes our DNA. The DNA structure of somebody that has um, starved, it changes. The DNA changes. It changes to survive. The DNA basically records all information, and it's interesting. So do your best. The best way is to just cover your mouth. If you're sick, don't go out. If you feel the need to get the shot, get the shot. But the shot's really just for you. Okay. Don't think it's people are like, oh, it's helping not spread it so much because it's helping your body fight it. Well, in the 2 weeks, it takes 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks, but it can spread in those 2 weeks. That's why it's so dangerous. Even if you had it and your body starts fighting it, you won't know it and you'll still spread it. So the mask really is the best. Um, it's not like you get it and then your vaccine just goes, "Come here, you're staying with me." It's not how it works. And then yeah, so it's for you. It's benefit really for you, and yes, it does help stop it, especially if you start getting it really bad, and it starts showing, and it helps you, and then you may not be able to spread it too much. But the thing is out of just in that 2 out of 2, you know, two were just in that little situation. Yeah. So it's interesting. Um, and then one of them had a baby. The one that got sick, that wasn't feeling too bad, had a baby. So maybe the immune system was boosted because of that situation, which could be the case too as well. But regardless, other people, young, you know, college kids, they, like I couldn't taste, I couldn't smell, I kind of had a headache. That was it. So yeah, and then your natural immunity. Anyway, where are we going to be in 5 years with all this stuff going on, with all the fighting, with all the diseases and all the sicknesses and stuff like that? It's interesting to see what's going to happen in just 5 years, and will we be able to be the type of people to stop these things? And that's the question. Anyway, it's coming up to like 30 minutes, and I've just been kind of rambling on. Not as much information. I don't really want to provide information as much as I do want people to look up their own information and to think about certain things and to really get their minds going on how they act. Um, one thing I learned is that what you take in is what you put out. So if you take in the fact that you can be, um, you can be you can be correct. You could be wrong. You can be right. Uh, old Sid Vicious song. Anyway, you can you can be right, but you really got to make sure that you're not just being a complete jerk. You know, just recognize what you're taking in and what you're putting out. Uh, if you end up watching this, have a good day. Go ahead, leave a comment. Obviously, leave a comment. Bad, negative, whatever. Try to be nice as possible. If you don't want to be nice and think you're just going to be hoity-toity and just go, you know what, that's shit, bad, bad, bad. Catch more flies with honey. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind being a fly swatter and just kind of swatting away as much as possible. Um, but then again, I don't, isn't that creating problems? So I retort that. Say what you want to do negatively. It'll upset me. It'll get me, but I'm just gonna have to be a bigger person and let it go. Um, Conversations are better than arguments, oh, and they solve more too. Anyway, everybody have a good day. Do your best. Adios.